Tsukimi here. Who else would it be? This is Observations with Otsu. This is Wednesday, not Monday, as I usually publish these on Mondays. Today's Wednesday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day to you. I am here just recording, just as usual. It's just a normal day for me. That's that. I hope you're having a good week. With all that, you guys know by now that we do weekly observations for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. The idea of this, as you guys also probably know, if you've watched more than one or two of these, is that this helps us get a weekly perspective on things. What I like to do traditionally is take this analysis within the first 24 hours of the market opening for the week. That way I have a weekly context to work with. We did not get to do that this week, mainly because I had a very busy week over the weekend, really the past 5 or 6 days. Doctor's appointments, things like that, Super Bowl, I believe, too, and just other things, right? And so a lot of things could not be managed. I took my losses on that and started this today. So we will look in this. We'll look at this, and this will shift the context a little bit for the weekly perspectives. I'll do the best that I can, but now that we are midweek, it will shift a little bit. That being said, the market has pumped pretty significantly. I think this is one of the more, um, you know, good pumps that we've had in the past, in a 72-hour period. So I wanted to keep observations with Otsu. I originally wanted to just postpone it till next week and just do something else, but I'm going to keep it today because the market has pumped so well. It kind of forces a new perspective that we need to look at, and so we will look at this. So it's a different type of observations, a midweek observation with things that have already pumped. And some of you guys have a lot of questions like, well, how do I trade this now that things have pumped? And we'll get into that. I think some of that we need to look at the harsh realities of that first before we can dive into um, what you can look at, because I want you to learn the lesson that you need to be early, or you need to be preemptive about these trades. You should not be chasing trades constantly, because if you are doing that, that's a sign that you are not in tune with how the markets should be behaving, right? So if you're waiting for a move after the move has already happened, it's I don't want to say it's too late, but your odds are stacked against you and the pressure is on the line. It's kind of like watching a football game or just any game really, when you're down significantly with like 2 minutes left. Like American football, like we just had the Super Bowl, right? 2 minutes left, 2 minute warning. That's when people start hustling, and then like if you're down 14 points, you start rushing, blah 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 blah. Well, that's why didn't you? Again, it's not fair to say this depending on the game, but like why didn't you have that, um, you know, enthusiasm for the whole game? And so that's the thing. That doesn't always, pertain to all those football players, of course, but it does pertain to you because some of you guys have been just sitting on your hands for over a year now. It's been a year and a half now since, almost 2 years actually, since this whole Jerome Powell thing where it got everybody spooked. Okay, and so many people on crypto Twitter got everybody, like literally almost everybody spooked about this. And I saw the writing on the wall. This this isn't, reality. The market is looking like it's shifting. Now that FTX occurred, I do think that the worst of it was over, and turns out that it was. And so a lot of people, and I'm not criticizing anyone, a lot of people missed buying under 20,000 because of that. And I can kind of just look at this with a weekly perspective before we get into it. And that is a 200% run from now. Like I got in right here. So I got in with 109, I got 194 on my long-term spot. So some of you guys missed buying under 20,000 because you were too concerned, too afraid. And I understand that. I think nobody, mostly, most people don't get that low. And that's completely fine. Most of you guys were waiting, most of you guys missed the $20,000 range from 20,000 to 30,000 because you were waiting for a pullback below 20,000. That didn't happen. You guys didn't buy 30, in the 30,000 because you thought there was going to be resistance, and then there was, like, we went all the way up to 30,000, then we went back to 25,000. Not a lot of people bought that either, and now we've kind of ran with this, and so now people are really interested. And I got a tweet about this that's like 2 years old. I've been every 3 months I bring this thread back up and I add to it. Like, people have no problem buying now at 50,000. People have no problem buying now at 45,000. Well, where was this enthusiasm and excitement when it was like at least half the price? See what I'm saying? So I don't understand it. Like, I understand the risks. Like, it does seem riskier to buy at 16 versus like 60, but like, you're not making as much money. I don't understand the probability. Anyway, that's not for me to discuss. But what I am discussing for this video is the weekly observations, but also looking at that. Excuse me. The market is definitely primed. I think everything looks good. I think we can safely say that we are leading towards an acceleration in the market, and that's a good thing. I'll explain that in Bitcoin why in the Bitcoin section. But I think last November I mentioned, like, I have an observations video called "A New Hope," or is this a new hope? Basically, a play on words to Star Wars, of course, but also a play on words to the hope stage of a market. Is this rally really real? And it's the last stage of the Wall Street cheat sheet market, and I believe firmly that that was the case, and this seems like that this is the case. And so this was what we looked at here. Is this rally real? We actually went down a little bit. Now we've accelerated way past that. And so I'll mention more about that, like I said, later in this video. But the idea of this is that everything looks pretty good. I think by now you should have, no expectations of bearish price action. We can look at, the market getting easier, things like that. But I'm going to save that to the theme of this video because this is just an introduction. So I apologize. I was getting ready to run on this, but I'm going to make chapters for this and wait. So that's basically that. I'm going to discuss a little bit about my Knowhere Premium, things like that, and then we'll get into the theme. All right, so first things first, I can't show you everything because a lot of this is sensitive for premium members, but this is kind of a glimpse on Knowhere Premium. I've had a very good response so far as far as Knowhere Premium, and if you haven't heard of it, it's basically the the more, I don't want to say intimate. It's a more, of a deeper assistance thing that I offer. And basically, I offer these channels right here. Basically, looking at trading portfolio. That's kind of what we're on right now. Premium charts, premium chats. I look at more recorded charts basically 5 days a week. So what I do normally, so for observations is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana once a week for weekly perspective. I do the daily perspectives on those same coins in the free Discord above, and that's the market update channel. As far as the premium, or no, mini market plus, I tend to look at more altcoins. Sometimes I look at as few as three. Sometimes I look at as much as 20 per day. And so, but usually it's roughly around 5 to 7. I think yesterday was 9. And I usually do that the same, 5 days a week. So that way, if you are signed up for this, you basically get like anywhere between 5 to 10 video analysis for coins every day. And I think that in of itself is a pretty good deal. Most people that are in premium like the mini market plus. They like the extra videos. They like the trading portfolio. I also do small caps and airdrop discussions, and then the Solana wallet. We focus more on Solana wallets. We kind of mix these two together because a lot of times the Solana wallet tokens are small caps, so we kind of discuss them, kind of cross discuss that. And then we also have private videos where, I'm going to keep that not selected, but what we do is we usually do about 2 videos per month. You get to decide what kind of videos those are. And so all that is currently for a very low price. You can check that out, link in the description. But the idea is, I wanted to mention this because this is a way that you can directly support me. I don't have any sponsors. I don't do anything else like that. And so this is a very small, this is the lowest, quote unquote paid offering that I do. Basically a way to show support for honestly just doing the research for you in that sense. A lot of people like the market plus videos because I'm basically doing hours worth of research per day that you don't have to do. And so I have a pretty good record thus far, kind of showing you which ones are more important to focus on versus other ones. I don't just like I don't I don't I don't throw things at random. For those of you premium members that are already into that, you guys know I usually have a select group of coins I look from. I look at different, you guys know for the most part, some of my criteria for that relative value, Aroon, things like that. And so there is a process behind that, and I've shared enough of that to know that you guys know that I have a process and that. If you want to know actually about my process, that's where my Apex Academy comes in. I'll mention that in a second. But this is a good way to support me while I also support you. Usually, I think the mini markets and trading portfolio is the two biggest ones that people enjoy. The portfolio ones. This is kind of what we have right here. This was the latest trade before the portfolio update. We have two more that are active, which I won't share with you because I just shared them this morning. So, but trade number 16 was Python. We can kind of zoom in. We can kind of like look up here a little bit, and so see where did we start here? If this will even load for me. Trade number 5, and so this is not anything. And you can pause this if you want to. So where did we start at? Oh, so we redid the portfolio. When we redid this, where did we start? Let me just look right here. And so the first official trade that we did for the new portfolio was January 11th. And so from January 11th to February 11th, we basically made about 40%. And so the goal and the thing is, and I got a document for this and all that, but the goal is that we want to make 25% per month. 25%, which doesn't seem like a lot. And I want to really emphasize that because a lot of people don't think that 25% is a lot. And I disagree. I disagree mainly because not because that's hard to do, but that's hard to do every month. And a lot of you guys, and I'll get to those doubters here in a second, but like a lot of you guys want to go for those home runs, that you guys want to go for that 3x, 10x, 20x within a month, and you keep trying to swing for those home runs, but you keep swinging and missing, swinging and missing. Yes, you're going to get an amazing month. Okay, I've had those in years past where I did like 200% in one month. It's just amazing, right? But then the next month I lose 30% because I'm using the same strategy for a different set of coins and parts of the market and candles and things like that, and it doesn't work completely all the way. What this will do for you is it sets you a baseline, sets you a 25% baseline. That's your initial goal. It doesn't mean that we don't stop at 25%. Just like I said, January we made 40% already. In February we're basically 3 days. I think I extended it to from February 9th, but we already made our goal for February. Okay, and we still have like I don't know 25 more days left. So we're not going to stop with 25 days left to go. We're going to keep continuing to do this, right? See how much more we can get. So the 25% is a baseline, and then we continue to go up from that. If we get more, great. If we get less than that, we hope that we don't. But the goal is to get 25% minimum for every month for this year, for 2024. And if we do that, so we started at 1/25th of a Bitcoin. Let me see if I can look down here and see where we're going here. But here, where are we at here? Sorry, I'm kind of here. It is. So our starting goal was 1/4 Bitcoin, which at the time was $11,600. Okay, if we meet our goal of 25%, that would mean we either, depending on for US dollars, that would be $168,000 or 3.6 Bitcoin if we focus on the Bitcoin measurement of that. And so that also breeds the idea is, well, what if Bitcoin goes to 100,000? Well, that would mean that this is actually 360,000 instead of the 128. So that's also another dynamic that we look at. It's not just about getting the US dollar value, it's also the Bitcoin value, knowing that the Bitcoin value might go up. And so this is where a lot of strategy, discipline comes into play. Because again, a lot of you guys know how to double your money, but you also know how to lose half your money very easily. This will give us a much more disciplined option. Okay. And so if that's something that you struggle with, I can guarantee you that the trading portfolio section is going to be worth the premium membership just by itself. Just by itself. And so for most people, like I said, they feel like they get their worth with the mini market updates and the portfolio together. And I know that there are not quite competitors, but I know that there's other people in the CT space that offer these for higher price points, and give you less value as well. So the goal is to do this. And so I have a real portfolio. I share as much as I can with this. And so anyway, this is, this, where are we at here? So this is not the current one, about 18,600. I think it's a little more. I think it's about 19,000 right now, because I think I made about $500 over last night. And so that's part of it. And so the goal is to get 25%, which should be a minimum of 168,000, by the end of this year. And I think that's a pretty good goal. Honestly, I understand that that's not a lot for some people, but I really want people to stop believing like that other traders are better just because their numbers are better. And so what I mean is, some people start at $100,000, or they start at $500,000, and then you just you go ape over seeing a portfolio screenshot that they could have made up, by the way, where they made, $500,000 or $1 million. Like, it's easy to do that when you already have $1 million. See what I'm saying? So the goal is, it's not really the amount either, because I mean that's great. I'm glad that they made that money, if they did. If they're not lying about that, right? I'm glad that they did. But the thing is, a lot of you guys like to look at the big numbers on the screen and then you follow them, but they don't do anything to help you build it. Like, you're just following some guy on CT that probably got lucky from a degen trade. And at this time of the market, people will make money, and you may make money off of degenerate plays. I've done that. I know a lot of people that have done that. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But the thing is, there's a time and a place for that. So don't don't lose your sight of discipline. Anyway, the whole point of this is to be disciplined with this, and lead with that. And so if you like that, I think this will be good for you. These are some of our current position, or some of our positions that we've had and things like that. And this is updated to yesterday. I'm also going to show the mini market plus. And so this is the kind of videos that I look at. And so this is the one that we did from, actually I posted this earlier today. Um, just after midnight. But basically, if you want the link, you can go there for the video. But what I do is, I usually look at new positions. Sometimes it's more. So like here, like this was, February 12th. This was 2 days ago. Actually, so the 14th is actually supposed to be the 13th, as you can see right here. So that's why I just posted it a little late. So the 12th one, here's your link if you want to look at that. But I cover new positions. And so I cover these positions. I cover basically the general one line sentence of what I talked about in the video. And this is the video if you want to watch it. So I embed it to Discord. This one I also looked at Apex signals, by the way. And then you have a link, because some people want Discord embeds, some people want links to YouTube. I'm happy to satisfy for both of them. So I gave some options here about the coins that I think look the best. And then sometimes after that, I'll add some new positions. But in some cases, in some days, there's not a lot of good positions, and that that should be the norm. Okay, like I'm not going to feed people random, coins. Like, oh, I think these 10 random things look good, and they may or may not be, or I may just get lucky, right? That's not what I do. I actively look for things, and then if I don't see anything particularly that I find interesting, I just review some of the previous coins that we did. Most of these we did last week. Okay. And so, with this, like Blur in particular, we talked about Blur before. Right up here, wedge breakout, ready for impulse, long was given, and now that long is doing pretty good. And so I can look at this, and see, well, here was the long position that we looked at. And so that was our entry. This is where we're currently at. We're currently at trend line resistance. So if you are a premium member, it's one of those things where you could take profits here, because that's, I mentioned that as an option, that you could take profits here at the trend line. So that's kind of what I see. And so that's just basically the idea of Knowhere Premium. If you want that, it is low cost. I'll leave a link in the description. In addition to that, I just flipped on my Apex script. So this is another um, product script, whatever way that you can support me. This is the Apex script. I want to emphasize that this is a little pricey compared. This is the most priciest thing that I have, um, and I don't regret that at all, because it has been well worth it. I've gave extensive back tests on this, things like that. I'll leave a link in the description, but this is where I want to show it to you. And I've talked about this really ever since, this run. And so let's just look at this alone. And so the dark line was where you would be entering. So like you have a buy and sell. So you would enter on a buy, and so that's where you would enter at this blue darker, this line on top. The one on the bottom is where you'd put your stop loss. Okay, and so from that alone, like if you went just up to this resistance zone, you would have had an 8.7 R at 44%. You would have got 44% just by that, and that's just a conservative guess, right? I'm just shooting at the hip right now. You would have had a sell signal that would have got stopped out, and so we can take the loss on that one. And you're gonna take losses from time to time. I'm not gonna try to sell you the most, Anyway, sorry, there's like a car going down. So here's another buy signal, and this is again your line right here. This would be where you put your entry. This is what your stop loss. You just slide it over to kind of get you a better context. And if you go to current price point, you're at 8.4 R. So you would have gotten about 16 R total on that. So if you were trading with one Bitcoin, you'd already have made $4,000 on just those two trades, or even more if you would have increased your risk, which I tend to do. I tend to increase my risk to at least 1.5%, sometimes 3, and even 6 in more bullish market conditions like we have. Addition to that, we also had 22% on this, 44% on, or about 40 on that. So even if I round down, you would have made 60% on that move. And so I think that, so first of all, that in of itself is already would have made you more money than what I'm asking for the script. In addition to that, it's a way to assist you with your trades, because there's a lot of people out there that do buys and sell signals, but not a lot of people tell you to put where the stop loss and the entry, things like that. This is mostly managed by the script itself. And the thing is, I'm not afraid to share these. So for example, this is just how it is on my screen, right? And so that was the long position for that. If we go to Ethereum, this is what that looks like for this is all the drawing. Go ahead, and if you're not in my Discord, invite yourself to Discord. Look at my market updates. This is exactly how I left it last night. Okay, so I don't change these. Okay, I'm the thing that kind of bothers me actually is that I'm mostly transparent about things, like 95% transparent, and then nobody seems to care, because people would rather just focus on some influencer telling you lies. Okay, if you like lies, I'm not the person you need to follow. So anyway, here, again, you would have got stopped out maybe right here. This would have been a slight profit. This one would have major profit. This one would have had maybe stopped out, let's say, to lean on the side of caution. This would have been pretty good as well. And so I can kind of look at this one like so. That was your entry, stop loss. And if again, if you don't want this, you can move forward past the chapter. But 3.5 R for that one. If you looked at this one over here for your entry, and if you would have got even if you would have got all the way to the sell signal, you would have had 9.3. So that's pretty good. So you're already up to like 30 R between the two of them, between Bitcoin and Ethereum by himself. Solana, you still have that buy signal from $21. I bought at 19, okay, and my script gave you a signal at 21. Okay, we're still there. And so let's just throw this into perspective here. And again, I have not modified these. And prove me wrong. Like, I want you to prove me wrong. Go to my WAP dashboard. The link is in the description. Sign up for the free trial and try to prove me wrong. Try to tell me that my script is not good. Okay? I want you to tell me my script is not good. I want you to prove to me that my script sucks. Because it doesn't. Okay, and if it does, give me proof so I can modify it in a better way. I can take a look at the data and cross-reference it. The point is I've cross-referenced this for over 4 years. I've gotten cycles of data that I can analyze between things. I've looked at, this script uses Aroon, which most people don't have on their script, and I've used it in a way to, use it with trend and momentum, Aroon trading, RSI, everything, so that it gives you the idea of where you can put the best target. Okay, if you want a script that gives you 500 trades a month, this is not for you. Okay, if you think you're better than me, this isn't for you. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying this is a way to analyze the markets in an easy way. Let me do the hard work for you, which I've already done. I'm just asking for a one-time or a monthly charge. That's all it is. It's all in there. 7-month trial. Please, please, please prove me wrong. I want you to prove me wrong. Okay? So, anyway, going into this here, if you go with this zone to current price action right now, you would have had 49R at 44%. So just keep that in mind. I think this sells itself. I think it does. And you might say, well, Otsu, it's easy to say that. Really? Well, how much money you got? See what I'm saying? Like, some people are quick to brag about things and or like downplay things. Again, I'm not criticizing anybody because I don't know who I'm talking to, right? But the thing is, a lot of people want to downplay other people's actions. I'm here to help you with this. Um, I've got no problem saying somebody's better than me. That's not where I'm going with this. Where I am going with this is I've made a system that has shown to be effective for the past 4 years. It's been a long time in the making. I've had people criticize me. I've had people block me because of this. Oh, your script only works like once every month for a year. Like, no, you're wrong, and I've proven that. I've proven that person wrong. That person blocked me, and that was a year and a half ago. And guess what? My script is still booming. It's still making lots of money. Okay, and so not only that, this is a script that I use frequently in my premium. So sometimes you get a free day of of the scripts when you join premium because I'll share them in the chats. Some of my trades for the trading portfolio are based off of this as well. I have 6 hours of backtest. I have another hour of backtest coming later this week, and so I have a lot of things to share with you about this, and so it's quite effective. So let's go ahead. I'm going to continue just slightly more. So XRP, you had a short from this. This is a long setup that I discussed, but that is the short from that. Apex, you had your long here, very good long signal with here, stopped out on this sell signal, and sometimes that happens, but it also reset to give you new long. So there was your long position, doing pretty good. Big, you know, Binance, depending on what you would have got stopped out possibly on this one, but this one's still valid from that zone. And it's one of these things like I don't tell this does not imply a leverage trade. So this is a valid trade, even though it may not be depending on the way that you trade. So anyway, chain link. This is one that we had here, and so that was this position like so, and currently at about 7.5. So and then Dogecoin, and we actually have two. We actually have one right now, so that give you an idea of what we're looking at. FTM, another one like so. And some of this is just chicken scratch, and then GRT. So those are the main ones. I showed you everything I needed to share with you on that. So anyway, the point is, I don't have sponsors. Okay, I do this out of the kindness of my own heart. I do this in part because it does help me trade better, and if people want to see this, then I'm happy to share it with them. Okay, that's me giving you daily updates on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana helps me trade better. Okay, and it's also a lot of noise reduction because I don't have to argue with people that you know may or may not know what I'm talking about. So, and that's the thing. Twitter's too much noise for me. So anyway, that being said, I don't have sponsors. If you want to support me and allow me to continue doing this, that's a great way to do it. You know, you could, I'm not asking for free money. I'm asking just, you know, premium. script, whatever you want, whatever suits your needs. I'm happy to, I appreciate that. Again, completely optional, things like that. But that's why I have a segment like this in my videos, because I don't have sponsors. So that helps me keep the doors open as far as this goes, because I do have a outside life, things like that. So, but yeah, let me know what you think about those. I'm gonna get to the theme of the video, and then we'll get to the analysis. All right, so enough of the plugging, but I do appreciate your support. What I want to discuss for the theme of this video, I'll try to make it as short or at least packed as I can, is that the market's been on a pretty good tear, and I kind of want to go to the weekly just a little bit to kind of see what I'm talking about. And so for the most part, so we know that within, what was it, November, from November of 2022 to November of 2023 is a pretty good year. Okay, that was probably one of the more straightforward years. Again, hindsight's 2020, but you could have just bought at January 1st and sold at December, 31st, and you would have had a pretty good run, probably better than most. And I think that goes to my thesis about my trading portfolio and other things. Like, sometimes the simplest, dumbest things are the best options, okay? And the thing is, let's kind of look at that for just a second. And again, hindsight is 2020, but let's say you bought here at December 2nd. And so let's say you bought at the end of December 2nd, which would have been actually, or January, which so actually would have been January 8th. Give you kind of a head start. No, that's not right. Where are we at here? To right here. You would have had 156%. So did you make 156% in your Bitcoin last year? I think a lot of you guys would probably not say no. And so it is what it is. That's not where I'm not here to judge or anything like that. But um it's one of those things where we had a pretty good run overall. That seems to be the case thus far here. So as far as Bitcoin goes, I think we're about 35% away from our all-time high, which would have seemed an impossibility. About 27% for the closing high, and I think where are we at here? About 34% for the all-time high. And so we're pretty close. We're close enough to where this could happen within a week at any given week. We could retrace down completely fine. I'm going to explain in the Bitcoin section why that we probably won't go down yet, but we'll see how that goes. The point being is things have been overtly bullish, and the more that we go like this, the more that we have to rethink our strategy, focus on things going to all-time high, focus on multiples in a sense. And it's one of those things. That's why, like, I have a Solana trade that's $19 and I have not sold, because I know, like, I'll go to the Solana portion of the theme. we're halfway. We're basically halfway to target already, and so we're almost at the midpoint of the entire structure. Okay, nobody would have thought that beforehand. Like this time last year, we were basically, was it right here or so? Where are we at here? Yeah, somewhere in this range. So we were floating around. It's not like you didn't have a chance to buy $20. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say as well. So don't beat yourself up that you may not have bought there, but also keep in mind we know how this goes. Okay, if people like me that have been here for 3 cycles, we know how this goes. We've seen this before. And so at the worst case scenario, you buy at $20 and you say screw it. And then you double your money, you sell the rest, and then you just ride the rest of it. And I think that's how a lot of people have made our money in the past year or so. And so I think it bears witness to things looking very, very bullish right now. I think we can start to finally realistically talk about all-time high targets, to realize that Bitcoin could be 69, 70,000 here pretty soon. Definitely, I would say absolutely sometime this year. It just depends. I think the key discussion is it going to be before or after the halving? Okay. And we'll see. At this point, it could be before, because we still got 2 months to go. That being said, let's go to Ethereum really quickly. Ethereum is at 27, and it doesn't have much way to go before it gets to 46. And I do think we could get to all-time highs this year with Ethereum. I do think $10,000 Ethereum is a very likely opportunity within the next 12 to 18 months. Okay, and I think but more importantly, like we've talked about these things even in my segments. But the thing is, these are realistic targets now. We can talk about these realistically, instead of just talking about speculation. See what I'm saying? And so that's where we need to change our mentality because things could go parabolic very fast. Things could change quickly, and that's where you probably want to change your strategy because the last thing I'd want somebody to do is to lose money off of high leverage, off of a high swing because you think you the problem is not that you want to make money. It's not about that. Like some of you guys could make life-changing money, but you don't and you won't because you want to make life-changing money too fast. Okay? And so let's put this in perspective. We always talk and a lot of people make fun of the 9 to 5 person doing the rat race, working 40 years to retirement. They make their money, they retire, they set off, they're in retirement, everything goes good. So you got those people. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I really don't. I think a lot of that actually is beneficial to not just society, but also to that person. It saves them a lot of stress. It just depends on who you are, where you're at, things like that. There's also people that believe, let's take the opposite of that. Like a lot of people, a lot, and me included, have partially me, I'd say, joined crypto because we can get rich. Okay, for me it was more than that. For me, I had banks on my tail. I had gotten sued. I was getting desperate. My workplace sucked, things like that. And so I tried to make a difference. Okay, and crypto has helped me do that. But a lot of people have gone in because they think, okay, I see all these people making millions of dollars, like that guy that didn't sell bonk at 12 million. Like you're stupid. I'm sorry, but you're stupid. Okay, I don't try to use that word lightly, but you're even bragging about it on Twitter and you don't sell. Like, come on. Anyway, I mean, and he could be right. I don't know. He could be right in the long run. I mean, bonk doesn't look too bad right now, but we'll see. And if he does, hey, whatever. I wish that person the best. That's not where I'm going with this. But the point is, a lot of you guys came here because you guys want to get rich quick and you want to get rich within a year or 2 years or even 4 years. Okay. But realistically, a lot of the people that I know that have gotten as far not I'm not talking about anomalies. I'm talking about the regular person that I've known a lot of people that have made retirement money in crypto in my 8 years that I've been here. And most of people that have done that did not do that until year 6. Okay. And so the general idea, the general consensus of a lot of OGs too, is that it usually takes your third cycle to understand what's going on. And I can understand that. This is my third cycle and I see what they're saying. There's some, I almost have to backtrack sometimes to tell you what charts look good because it comes to easy for me now to analyze. Like I could look at a chart within 5 seconds, tell you if I want to buy or not. Because I'm so used to this. It's so repetitive. It's like a musical instrument to me. I can just pick up the instrument and play. And so that's that's part of it. But part of it is you guys want to get rich within 12 months instead of 4 years, 6 years, 10 years, where you actually lose all your money and then it doesn't work out. Okay? And then you blame the system. You blame everybody else but yourself because you wanted to get rich too quickly. Okay. And so that's the thing. The only really the biggest factor, and this is why I sell my scripts. This is why I talk about bots a lot because I got bots coming up this month as well. The biggest element to your failures, and I say this very lightly. I don't mean offense to this. I say this very 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 lightly, as a person that's trying to be nice to you. The biggest element to your failure is yourself. The human element is what I mean by that. So that's why I've automated my systems because I don't trust myself with my trading sometimes. And let's be honest, like sometimes you eat the best trader is not always going to be in the right mindset. Okay. Like I've looked at charts at 2 o'clock in the morning where a chart looks juicy and it's pumping and it's just like, oh, I need to buy it right now, but I'm so tired. Like sometimes I'm tired, sometimes I'm stressed, sometimes, I've got more cash flow or less cash flow this month than other months. And so, you guys know I have a special needs kid, and we've got, now my wife has medical issues and things like that, right? So it's like you have in real life environments that can modify your emotional outlook on a trade, cause you to cut early, cause you to not cut early at all and cut too late, cause you to trade too much, cause you to not trade at all and sit on your sidelines because you're afraid to lose money because you might need it for an appointment or something like that. And all of those are valid, by the way. I'm not saying you should or should not do any of those. What I'm saying is it complicates the process, and automation, in my opinion, helps streamline that process. Me and my wife talked about this actually yesterday on the way home. We ate at a nice Korean place yesterday, and my son likes that too. But there's we were talking about my trading and other people's trading, and the thing is like I have a very clean system that optimizes not just my trading performance, but also enhances the least amount of time I spend on the charts. Okay, because this recording is going to be probably an hour long after edits, and that's probably more time I spend on like a I probably spend maybe 2 hours a day at the most on the screens, at most, not including things I do for my followers and premium things like that. And the reason why is because I don't have to. I have my system down, ready to go. I've got everything in play, okay? And I even talk about my system with Apex Academy. And I had a lot of people talk to me about Apex Academy, like, why are you, Otsu, why are you sharing your system? People are just going to copy you. And my response is, no, they're not. If I get 100 people to sign up, only one person is actually going to do everything that I say in that academy. Okay? And part of that is because people use their own systems, but also part of that is because people don't follow through with their own discipline. That's why I have the trading portfolio. That's why I have all these other things. But I know people that spend 40 hours a week on the charts that don't do it for their followers. They spend basically what, if I do 2 hours a day, so I spend like 10 hours if I do it Monday through Friday. Just as a broad example, that other person spends 40, so they spend 4 times as much time on the charts, and they don't make as much money, and they neglect their family, and they don't get to do this, and they're tired because they're watching a screen 40 hours a day, and their eyes suck, and they're also probably sleep deprived. Like I try to sleep as much as I can, or in a healthy way, of course. um, drink your fluids, do all that stuff. Okay, and that's part of it. That also affects your trading. When you are sleep deprived, when you don't drink your water, when you don't work out, when you don't do other things, that also affects your trading. Okay, and so you need to understand that more time on the charts does not equal more money. More intelligent trades does not mean more money. More effort does not necessarily mean more money, although most of the time it does. Preparation can help you make more money. Automation on very simple strategies can help you make more money. It's as simple as this. If you trade EMAs, set alerts for EMAs. There you go. If you look at EMAs for, let's say, like 10% of your, 10% of your strategy, you just automated 10% of your strategy. Okay, and now that's 10% less time you need to look at charts and coins. Like some of you guys have, I can't tell you, like if you have like $5,000 to spare, which I know is a lot for some people, hire someone to get a complete automated system, complete. Okay, if you have programming knowledge, you can do a lot of things yourself for free. You just need your time, and that's built into TradingView. And that doesn't take a lot of money to do. The hardest part is just the strategy. Okay, and that's why, you know, and if you don't have strategies and you don't have programming knowledge, but you do have some money, that's where my scripts come into play. I have it all set for you. It's plug and play. You just You just buy it and it adds it to TradingView automatically, and you're good. Okay, and that's just how it is. So that's one way to do that. But why I say that in line with the theme of this video is that you are going to have very quickly more ways to make a lot of money really fast. And I don't want you to miss that. I don't want you to miss that because you made this too complicated or because you didn't want to risk at the at a time where you know see the thing is I want to tiptoe the line of risk, but I also don't give a crap either because life is risky in general. And this is what I've learned. This is one thing that there's two things that have helped me psychologically wise that has helped me make more money than I thought I could. One of those is that I'm not going to work for my money. My money is going to work for me. You flip the script on that. Okay? Yes, I could even with that mentality, you could still go get a job at McDonald's or wherever. Like I used to work security at a a city government. You you can still make money, but then have that money work for you. And so that's the first one. Don't don't work for money. Let your money work for you. The second thing is that, well, just what I said earlier, like life is risky. Life in general is risky. You are risking yourself every time you drive because you could get hit, you could get killed. Okay? That amplifies significantly when you have a family, by the way. If you don't have a family, it I lose a little bit less sleep knowing that I have a special needs son that I need to protect that doesn't know like he's 7 years old and he could just run into the street no problem and he could get hit. Okay? He put himself in a moderate situation. The other day, he swung his iPad around and it fell on the concrete and things like that. Like he has no situal awareness with those kind of things. And so, but life in general is a risk. Okay, you risk yourselves every time you get on the road and you take a drive next to somebody who can't drive. Okay, you take a risk every time you go to work. You know your time is a risk because you can never really add more time to your life. Um, you risk yourselves every time you work out. You risk yourselves every time you don't work out. You risk yourselves if you eat too much ice cream. You know, it's like body stuff, right? Or like no matter what, okay? Like or relationship issues or whatever it may be. Life in general is a risk. So the thing about risk is that you should not be avoiding risk per se, okay? And I talked about this with my wife the other day where okay, is it risky to drive on the road knowing that I could die? Like if I'm passing a semi, for example, absolutely. That is a risk. But that is a risk that warrants action because we need to get from point A to point B, and sometimes you just can't avoid a semi on the road. Now you're not hitting them, of course. You're just going past them, and you can be safe or don't. Or the thing is, some of you guys want to drive these Aston Martin sports car, and that whatever. I don't have a problem with that, and that would be nice, to be honest. But some of you guys want to zip through that, and that's okay. Going 100 miles an hour where it's a 50 miles an hour lane. The point is that applies more risk, and sometimes unnecessarily so. So me driving on the road with a semi is risky in some sense, but also necessary in many senses. On the other hand, skydiving with a parachute is much more riskier. Yes, it's relatively safe, but I've known people that have died from skydiving. I knew a guy I ate dinner with, and 2 days later he died skydiving because his parachute didn't open. And so, is that something that I want to do? Like, do people want to skydive knowing you could die? Well, and the thing is, it's up to you. It depends on your risk tolerance, right? That's what I'm saying. Now, skydiving without a parachute gives you much higher risk and almost gives you probably a certainty of dying. And so that's where the risk becomes too high. See what I'm saying? That's where everything comes into play. Like everything is a risk. I risk talking to you too much and my lunch gets cold because I can smell my lunch right now. The thing is, everything in life is a risk. And so that's the second thing that I'm talking about that has changed my view on money is like I am not afraid to apply more risk to my portfolio because it's a managed risk. Okay. Some of you guys doing 1,000x, like they're like Rollbit or whatever that wants to do 500x, you guys are gambling. Rollbit is a gambling site. Don't let them fool you. They probably aren't fooling you. You probably know it's a gambling site and you're just trying to make money off gambling, and that is not trading. Okay, gambling and trading are two completely different things. You just want to put them together to feel better about it. Okay, there's a way to manage these together, or manage trading separately, I should say. The thing is, everything is a risk. So what do? I look at the trades that are easier to accomplish based off of my criteria. That's my Apex Academy criteria, which is my academy that I'm trying to launch here in March. But what I do is I look for easier trades. Like if I know that there's a high probability trade to get like a 5R, and I know it's high probability based off of my research and my back testing and my previous trades, well, I'm going to triple my risk. So now my 5R trade becomes a 15R trade. And I just made 15%. So if I have a $100,000 portfolio, I just made $15,000 off one trade. See what I'm saying? Versus somebody that's taking 10 trades for half R. I can't stand it. Like this, I know this is my personal trading strategy, but I cannot stand like I think it's completely illogical to do a trade with less than 1% risk. Okay, if you're doing a trade less than 1% risk, you're you're compensating for something, whether that's you're too afraid to lose money or you're not sure about the trade or what have you, right? But the thing is, I look at trades that I think are for sure, that I have a high probability of success, I should say. And then I double, a double, triple, like in the trading portfolio in premium, some of my risks have been 6%, okay? And so that's, I'm talking about a regular trade. I'm not talking about high time frame, long term, because some of my long term trades are 20, 50%. But on a basic trade, I have no problem sharing 6% because guess what? If I take a long position like so, and we just do like something like this, so a 3R trade at I look at the R value, I don't look at the percentages. A lot of you guys look at percentages. It's like, oh man, it's only 23%, that sucks. But you're talking about your risk tolerance, like how much are you applying here? This is a 3R position. Okay, so that's if you have 1% risk, it's a 3.04. Let's just say 3. Now if I apply my 6% risk, I am 6xing this opportunity, which makes this an 18R trade. So if I have a $100,000 portfolio, I just made $18,000 off of one trade. One trade. And that's what I'm talking about is that the market right now is giving you a better opportunity than you ever have is because things are becoming more liquid, things are going higher, things like that. Like we looked at Solana, right? And so we're almost halfway up to the marker. And so things are going to speed up. You're going to have opportunities to make a lot of money, but don't don't screw yourself by leveraging too high or sitting on the sideline too much or what have you. Okay, so that's pretty much the whole point. The theme of of this video is to look at that. So anyway, I'll digress from there. Let's get into the charts. We're gonna start with Bitcoin first, and we'll keep this going on the weekly. So first things first, we had a pretty big weekly candle last week. I want to talk about that before this week because I usually do that anyway. So we had this week here. There's a few different things going on here. First of all, we had a pretty big impulse into new territory. So that was pretty new closing territory, I should say. Now we are in kind of price discovery for this range. Pretty much par for the course at this point because the market is lending itself to higher things. So that's pretty much all the good news, to be honest with you. Despite the fact that things are looking pretty good, despite the fact I just said things are looking great and they should continue to look great, we should look for all-time highs. The only other good potential thing is the Aroon is looking pretty good on this one. That being said, we have a few concerns. First of all, We have the RSI divergence. Now, a lot of people disagree with this on me, and that's completely fine. But we do have a divergence in play. We actually had it in play for 2 weeks now. The thing with this is we need to see some sort of exhaustion. And a lot of people, I know some prominent traders that say, well, we need a downward candle first. The problem with that is that typically that's too late to exit a position. The goal is you want to take advantage of the divergence and still get out at a proper time. And so this qualifies to me because we had an oversold area on the RSI here, and we are getting very, very, very close to oversold on here. If this gets above 80%, I think that's a good key sign. But I would not be surprised, despite the fact that we are running up pretty good, that we might actually go down next week and the next 2 to 3 weeks after that. Okay, so that does seem contrary to what I just told you in the theme of this video, but my emphasis actually is going to be on Ethereum and altcoins making a run before the halving. Now, I'm not prescribing to the halving as some sort of price marker. I don't view halvings like that. It's just an event. That's all it is for me. But as far as that goes, I do think we are approaching some weakness here. Now, that being said, we had a weekly divergence. Post COVID, I believe, somewhere around here. I can't remember where it was. It might be on the daily, actually. No, it's right here. I think, right? I mean, this was pretty close. And so, but anyway, I think I'll try to share the tweet I have on that. But the point is, we could run parabolically here first. We could go on a rally and then come back down to this later. But I do think that we'll come back to this because it's not just about the divergence, it's also about a breaker. We had a breaker right here. And so what that means is we broke above this channel. We broke through this without trying to retest the structure, which means we should come back to 44,300 at some point. That might be tomorrow. That might be next year. Could be any time in between that. And the hardest part is you don't know. The hardest part is you don't know. And so that's just kind of how it plays out. In addition to that, we also have a breaker on the higher time frame. And so this is what this looks like. So we had the liquidity here, which matched up here, but it broke below this low. And so this qualifies a breaker, which means we should come back down to 46,700, which is above the other one. So I understand that. But there's a lot of reasons for me to think that we are actually going to go down, possibly in the short term. And so when I talk about things for the theme of this video, I talk about it more of a long-term perspective. I'm not saying that we're going to go to 100 tomorrow or right away or anything like that. These all-time high targets are not time sensitive. They just happen when they happen. I'm just saying that we have a reason to believe that they're more realistic now. And so that's kind of what I say. So overall, we are getting a good pump on this. I like this middle of the month or middle of the week price action. We'll see how this goes. But as far as the weekly goes, things are still looking good. There's no real confirmation that we're going to go to the downside just yet. So that's part of it. If we go to the daily, you have this zone here. That's kind of what we were looking at from before. You guys know the deviations that I talked about. I don't really want to talk about that anymore. But the point is we had a one to the downside, one to the upside. That caused the impulse for this. And so now we're kind of going up. I don't neglect deviations, and that's why, because they can be very strong. Now, as far as this goes, we got good price action on this. This was relatively clean. Like, you could consider this a breaker, but it's high. It's so close where I don't think it really matters. But, because if it does come down, it's going to come down from the weekly perspective anyway. So this is looking pretty good. The only other thing is we are approaching oversold territory in RSI, which you guys know is a confirmation for me to be cautious here. I do have an open Bitcoin long position, and I will consider selling it after this video because of this. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to go. Now, when oversold territory, the reason why I do sell is because, and I mentioned this before, it's not because it won't go any higher, because most of the time it does. It's because the risk to return shifts. Okay, this is the meat of the move is from the 50 to the 80. Once you get to the 80, it becomes a little too risky or a little bit too long. And I've mentioned this before, like if you had a trade like so, and you know, let's say you put your stop here or wherever, it doesn't matter for this example, and then you stopped at the 80, you would have made 16% at 2.5R. Now, if I would have waited for this run up, I mean, yeah, I could have made double, but I also would have had to wait a long time to do so. And so that's what I mean. I'm not saying that's a bad trade because that is a good trade, to be honest with you. The point is, you have to wait double or even triple the time to make the same amount of money that you just made. And so that's what I'm saying. It's not because I don't want to trade it. It's because the risk to return shifts, the risk becomes higher and the reward becomes lower, and those are suboptimal trades. Those are not class A trades. They're kind of class B trades for me, and I only generally trade class A trades. So that's how I look at that. So overall, this is looking pretty good despite all of that. Aroon is still good. Everything looks pretty solid. That is Bitcoin. Pretty easy to explain, honestly. And so it's you know, a lot of you guys are looking for higher price points, things like that. I'm not against that, but I think this is a time to be cautious as far as adding more positions or more risk. I think that window is not over, of course, but I think it is a little more risky. Let's go ahead and go to the 4 hour though before that, because we can look at a few things. Actually, I want to go back to the daily because one thing I mentioned was getting a parabolic run, and so we broke above that just now in this daily candle. So this is the other caveat. Since this broke above, this is a parabolic break, and so what that looks like is something like this. And so we actually did this before, and we actually pumped up. Now sometimes we go straight up parabolic, sometimes we consolidate and move forward down like this. We also were at oversold when we did this, so it's one of these things where I'm expecting a long position here to do a parabolic run. I think that probably makes more sense to do a trend line play on the 1 hour or the 4 hour. I'll get into that in a second, but you want to be cautious because the last time we did do this, we did consolidate instead. So just be cautious overall. This could be setting up a very large reaccumulation pattern, by the way, which could be until May. But we'll see how that goes. Looking honestly, the market's looking really good. Bitcoin's looking really good. So I don't want you to be scared. Is basically what I'm saying. So you got the 4 hour. You had this break above here. You had this triple zone. Actually, no, it stopped right here. So that's probably where we're going to stop for the day, to be honest with you. We have, you know, kind of a fan set up right here. So that's probably, yeah, I would be cautious that we, you know, this is another bullish breaker too. So we could come back down to 49,900 or 50,000 relatively quickly. So that is an option as well. So again, I would focus on, if you want to get in, first of all, I have a video that's called Trading Bullish Price Action. It's designed for environments like these if you have not got in. But if I wanted to get in right now, I would honestly just look at very simple EMA 20s. Honestly, very simple. I did that also in the peak of the bull market last time, and I was very successful with that. It's simple. It's too simple. It's so simple that you think it's dumb. Okay? And I want to emphasize that. The best opportunities are going to be the lowest perceived IQ opportunities. They will. Okay? This is not the time to invest in heat maps, order flow crap, whatever. I'm not saying it's crappy. I'm just saying it should take lower priority right here because the easier trades are going to be the better ones. Let's go. All right, going to Ethereum. Now we are on the weekly for this again. So for the weekly perspective, again, we had a pretty good play with this. This is also a bullish breaker. We'll get into that in a second. Have a pretty good impulse. I like the fact already that Ethereum is kind of making a run for it. A lot of people are looking at this as like ETF news, things like that. I'm glad that that Ethereum is at 2,700. I'm not as exposed to Ethereum as I would like to be, but I'm also heavily exposed to Bitcoin and Solana, so I am okay with that. We can take a look at ETH BTC, by the way, and ETH versus SOL to kind of see what that looks like. Additionally, we have a 1 week bearish divergence, so we're looking at that in a perspective, but we also have that same parabolic run. I think we can see that the best here on the weekly, and so that looks like so. And so this bears witness to where This could be invalidated as a divergence, and so this can continue to go higher. Overall, RSI or the Aron got reset. Everything is looking good for this run. One thing I do want to keep in mind is you have this setup right here. We have this break above this zone, so that's pretty good. I'm pretty sure we'll probably hold 2,500 for the week. If we don't, that's a deviation. We need to get out. But this is a good signal because you still have time to enter at this position because we're still close to this resistance zone. If this holds true, this should not retest or should not break down, I should say, to deviate. As you can see, 3,000 is pretty much the marker for that. I think that's not that's an easy guess because it's not that far away, but it's looking pretty solid. If you already are in some long positions with this, I think 3,000 is a good place to take profits on that. Going to the 1 day, this doesn't really tell us a whole lot. And the frustrating thing for me about Ethereum is that the price action is so much different than other coins. And so, unless you really have studied it a long time, it's a little more difficult. But one thing that we can see here, so we had the push up above this from this zone. This was your consolidation marker for this one. Another thing was I think it was on the 4 hour, I think, but in our Discord, I think we had I know it looks bad. There you go, it looks better. We had a trend line break, so that's kind of what we looked at. And so we pretty much had been in since 2,300. And so that's pretty good. We have a divergence on the 4 hour, but we talk about mainly the daily and higher for this video. So one thing I also see here is we have two things. We have a block right here, which we surpassed, so that's a bullish breaker. Could come back down a little bit. So don't be surprised if we do kind of retest the 2,500 area. The problem too is a lot of people think that like you guys have a lot of bear market PTSD, and you guys need to just forget you experienced the bear market. Okay, because yes, it can be helpful, but yes, it can hurt you. Like I can guarantee you. So my second cycle, the reason I didn't make life-changing money is because I was too afraid to trade. Okay, I did better, or no, I should say I did better in the second cycle than the first, because I had more capital to deal with. But um, as far as returns, I don't think I made as much returns. I made more capital, but I didn't make a higher percentage, and part of that was because I was too afraid to trade. Okay, I was too afraid that the bear market was just how it always is, right? And so that's not always the case. So you had your retest here, looking for acceleration on that one. Another thing is we also have this structure right here. This is your liquidity zone. So guess what? If we hold above this zone, this is a Darvis box. This is one of my key things that I look for. So if you have not longed already, this is a qualifying long position for me to continue to go higher. So Darvis box would be entry at the top of the zone. And then the stop loss I could put right here. So that's a 5.8. I can target that $3,000, so it's about 1.8 R. I guess I could target 35 if I wanted to, a little bit better. I'm not so much comfortable doing it with the target of 3,000 because I try to have 2.5 R minimum, and so I might even just increase my exposure to here, and that's still with under that order block. That's a little more riskier. I might wait for a small pullback, something like so, and target like that, or even target lower to adjust that. But the Darvis box is in play for me right now if this closes like this, and this is one of my high probable trades. The reason also too is if this stops out, that's a deviation. You get to close all your positions and you get to sit down, and it's fine. So deviations, even bad deviations, are good because it helps you understand where the demand and supply is. So that is Ethereum. Let's go ahead and go to. I'm gonna pause just for chapter references and go to Ethereum versus Bitcoin and Solana. All right, so this is ETH BTC. I won't spend too much time on either one of these, but what I want to look at is we have a few things. First of all, we have a confluence point on Aron. The fact that the bull side came in first, which means we should get a bullish breakout of this. This is looking like Ethereum is trying to hold this position. Now, a lot of people don't focus on ETH BTC anymore, including myself. So a lot of people don't trade based off of this pair, but I think it is interesting to show that Bitcoin could be losing some momentum versus Ethereum, especially with maybe the ETF news coming out. That's a possibility. I would like to see a break above this before we care too much about it, but this was divergent. This was a divergence, and so it's looking pretty good. If we get above the 50, I think Ethereum could take off more. This is good to know because I think I'm probably going to start allocating more of my capital from Bitcoin to Ethereum if we continue this route. I don't think it's too late to buy Ethereum, in my opinion, versus Bitcoin, because I think even if Bitcoin goes to like 180,000, that's only like a 3x, 3.5x. If Ethereum goes to 10,000, that's going to be a little more. So either way, I always prefer to keep mine in Bitcoin, of course. Solana, I would prefer to stay. Ethereum, in my opinion, is still going to be the weakest of the three. I think it is going to continue to stay the weakest of the three for the whole cycle. So I don't think Ethereum is going to go to 20,000. I don't think that's likely. It's possible, but I think 10,000, 15,000 might be a more likely target. So we'll see. I'm not saying one thing or the other. I know that's kind of speculation, but that's why we're also looking at ETH BTC. I want to stay wherever the momentum is. Now, let's go ahead and go to ETH Solana, or Sol ETH, I should say, and kind of see where we look at with this. And so this is one, I've looked at this before, it seems like. So if this looks a little bit familiar, this is because this looks very similar to the Sol USDT chart. And the reason is because Ethereum hasn't really been doing much in the past year, honestly. If we look at Ethereum in the past year, um, we're basically at the same price point that we had from April 2022. So if you bought in around that time, about a year and a half ago, you have no gains, right? Where if you're looking at the same point, I guess that's very similar in some sense. But if you would have bought here in this zone, I mean, even at the lowest, you would have bought at 1,000, so you're up a little over 2x. Here, the lowest you could have bought, let's just say $10, so you're up 10x. So there's a very big difference. But you got this big cup and handle, and we'll get into Solana in a second, but that cup and handle is looking really nice. So let's go ahead and go to Sol ETH. Go back here. You have a very similar cup and handle style, not exactly the same way, but the momentum is clearly still in the Solana's side. We do have a bearish wedge, so this could be coming down a little bit more. We'll see how that goes. I have a hard time thinking that this will maintain too much of a shift to the downside because I think Solana, I I think it's crystal clear that Solana is going to be a better trade and a better ecosystem than Ethereum this cycle. I think that is crystal clear. And so that kind of shows on the chart, and I don't see any reason to think otherwise for now. We recovered this zone, and I think this looks just fine. And so this is what that looks like on the daily. I mean, honestly, as long as we hold this zone, I don't think that that's really a question. And in fact, we're also even holding this zone, and so yeah. I think it's looking pretty solid. So again, a little speculation on this. I'm not trading Solana versus ETH. I'm pretty dead set on Solana being the better of the two for this cycle, at least as far as rewards, right? And so, obviously, Ethereum is the stronger ecosystem, but Solana is going to give you more potential for returns. So, anyway, speaking of Solana, we're going to go to that next. All right, going to Solana. So, first things first, we had a good weekly candle last week, but we did not have a push above the new highs like other coins did, like Bitcoin, Ethereum. However, on the current candle, we do. And so that's the first thing that I see overall is that pretty good market structure overall with that. In addition, we also have, I'm kind of going out of order, but we also have this zone right here that we looked at. This is the one that broke above, deviated below. Now we're kind of breaking above that. If we hold above 107 for the weekly, I think that's looking pretty good, honestly. Now, that being said, we also have another weekly divergence. A lot of these are getting weekly divs. I don't want you guys to be scared, but I do want you to be understanding that the risk to returns are getting a little more complicated with this, and we could be going to the downside first. And we'll look for exhaustion points to see that. We also have an Aron bearish wedge with this. Now, the good news is if this wedge completes, the good news is the bearish wedge has been taken into effect, but the price action keeps going up, which is a good sign for the bulls. If we cross bearishly and nothing happens, then that's also a good sign for the bulls, and we'll continue to go higher. And then this will be invalidated. So overall, it's not looking too bad. I think again, the market is looking pretty good. I just want people to be cautious that I think things could get overheated, or around this time of the markets, things either get overheated or things accelerate super fast to the point where you're going to make an insane amount of money, but then you're also going to snap back really hard. So just keep that in mind. So other than that, weekly is very good. You see this cup and handle that looks nice. Cup and handles tend to be um, continuation formation, so we should see that acceleration. Now, as far as the rest of this, so that was this zone, right? And so we can pretty much get rid of that. Another zone that we're looking at, this might be a more important zone than you might think. And so that would start about 136, which is where this is too. But I think the 155 marker, we could have some trouble intermittently. But other than that, this is a smaller zone, not too important. And then the other one is going to be just the all-time high. And that's what I'm saying. Like we are, for all these coins, we are 3 zones or less from all-time highs. And so that's good. So I'm looking at something like 250 as a target. I don't think I'm going to sell any of my long-term stack until we get to 250, and then I'll probably just sell like 10%, or even, maybe 20% at the most. So we'll see how that goes. But as far as this goes, looking pretty good. We do have that weekly div that I am concerned about. Just keep that in mind with the exhaustion. Now, let's go ahead and go to the daily. And so, because this is one where we looked at a long position in the Discord, and so I don't want to mention that just right now because we're kind of in a different video. But this is kind of what I see right now. We're kind of approaching resistance for this, so I would not enter honestly until we get above this zone. I don't see any reason. Just because you see green doesn't mean you need to buy. In fact, sometimes that's the opposite. But you want to do basically a Darvas box situation. Not quite Darvas box textbook wise, but get above this zone, put your stop loss below the zone, and then you can target something like 150. Looking pretty good, 2.25 at 22%. Very simple, very clean. I don't know why things got to be so complicated with this, okay? My analysis tends to be a little shorter than my themes, and that's for a reason because I have this stuff pretty much automated already in my head. It works, it's effectual. I show this in premium all the time. I've made you know we've made our we made our goals. Sorry, my wife texted me. We made our trading portfolio goals for the past 2 months, and we're only like 5 days into the second month. So just kind of shows you this is exactly how I set these things up in the chat. So anyway, that is Solana. All right, so that's pretty much the video. Small, quick summary. Bitcoin's looking pretty good. We have this extension here to go on a potential parabolic run. Looking pretty good. I think, honestly, for targets, I do think 60,000 could be relatively reasonable relatively soon. I think 55,000 especially. But also keep in mind we do have a weekly divergence. And so we could be setting ourselves up for failure. It just depends on how that looks. Going to Ethereum. Ethereum is looking pretty good. We finally broke above that zone. If we can hold this above the weekly, stay above 2,500, I think that looks good. It also has a Darvas box play, which I especially enjoy. I think 3,000 is going to come very quickly, and I don't think that's saying much because it's pretty much here. Going on to Solana, again, very good. I looked at the weekly cup and handle formation. I looked at the possibility of going to 150 and 250 as well as longer term targets. Up here, you could get another long signal at 123. That's not too far away. Stop loss would be below that, about current price action, or a little bit lower at 111, 110, and then you could target 150 with that. So overall, market's looking pretty good. I think, again, steady the course. This is where things should be getting easier, not harder. So don't make this harder for yourself. The last thing I want to hear is one of my followers telling me that they lost their money because they were over leveraged or they screwed up at a time when the markets couldn't be easier to do this for. So, but I also have the sympathy. I do want you to let me know. That way I can help you the best I can. So anyway, let me know what you think. I know this was a long video. I don't always say I'm sorry, but I apologize if it was too long for you. Let me know. I'm glad you listened this long. If you did, you can like, subscribe, things like that. Happy to share more. I'll see you next time.